It is still November and still very cold.
It's not raining today, though.
Nope. So we're in a much better mood, and I'm going to do that again. That made no sense.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hey everybody, welcome back. We wanted to bring you an important topic today that we've been experiencing with our kids, and I think across the board, hopefully you won't have to deal with it too much, but it might come up in your lives, and we're really hoping you can share with us how you handle it. And that is the big bad topic of bullying, and when somebody's being mean to your kids. How do you deal with your mama bear instincts, and how do you make your kid survive the day from being around kids at school that are mean to him, or even at the park sometimes? But you have experienced already just a taste
signals.
Yes, how kids can just be mean.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's new. It's not a new issue. Definitely when I was growing up, I would say I was teased quite a bit. I think everybody gets teased because bullies are creative. You get teased for anything and everything. Yeah. So we wanted to have this conversation from the parent's perspective. So how do you feel about it when your kid's getting made fun of, or if they're having a tough time with somebody at school? And actually, I think before we even started recording, we talked about not using the word bullying too much, because in our opinion, the bullying word is in a league of its own. It's consistent and constant badgering, and it's a more serious indication of a problem, whereas you can still get teased and feel really bad about it without it being
technically bullying.
Yeah.
Not to that extreme. How have you dealt with any teasing or...
Yeah, and I think I should preface this by saying my kids are also not perfect, because I'm sure when I'm not around, they have had their fair share of making another kid feel bad.
Same with mine.
The first story, my first memory of somebody being mean to my kid was probably when they were both old enough to independently play on the playground, so I wasn't right beside them the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it was actually older kids that I felt like were going out of their way to be mean.
Yeah.
You know, I totally get it. They don't want to play with my kids because my kids are younger. But the older kids would say, "How old are you?" And I think at the time he was 4. Okay, so he says, "I'm 4," and then they're making fun of him that he was only 4, and so therefore he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. And we're just there to play at the park.
Yeah.
Right? The way I react to it, I'm so uncomfortable disciplining other kids.
Telling them off.
Yes. And I think sometimes I've had opportunities to stand up for my kids and then I don't.
Yes.
And I feel bad about it later.
You hold back, for sure.
Because I think once that floodgate opens, my mama bear spirit animal, I think would just be, uncontrollable.
Yeah.
I don't want to scare anybody.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, and it's an interesting thing to bring up, how you tell off somebody else's child.
Really hard. It's harder than doing it with your own kids.
Yes. You see the look on their face change from excited and happy, like some older kids come to talk to me, to them like, oh, I can't do any of this stuff, or I'm so little. It's really disheartening to watch them feel so down on themselves.
And then I remember them asking him what his name was, and then they started making fun of his name. It's those kind of things that like bring you out of your seat, because your kids to you will always seem a little defenseless. You feel like you can do the best for them. So anytime that you're compelled to be like, no, I need to protect them, and it's just like doing it the right way, that is so tough for me.
It is.
So
I've experienced similar. Yeah. One time after dinner, we went to a park with my husband's parents and the kids. And at the time, I think our littlest was very little, and our oldest was maybe like 3.5. And she was going down a slide, and a little boy stopped her and said, "Well, how old are you?" And or something along those lines too. He looks at us, this little boy. "She can't go down this slide because she's not old enough. She's too little. And I remember the first time I let it go, she was excited to follow these kids. So, you know, it happened again where he was kind of blocking the slide with his arm. And that was when I climbed up the ladder and I went to that kid and I was like, how old are you? And he said 4. And I was like, she's not even a year younger than you.
Wow.
You need to move out of the way. Everybody gets a chance to go down this slide.
Right.
And I felt weird doing it, but at that point I had had enough because it was like, you're now not letting her enjoy something that we came here to do regardless of who was there.
Yes.
And I didn't see any parents in sight either, and nobody was really paying attention to this situation.
Yeah.
And that he's not like in charge of the slide.
Keeper of the slide.
Yeah, exactly. He's not. So
yeah. You bring up an interesting point too about looking for the parents first, because sometimes you're like,
hello?
Why isn't this parent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like some parents take their kids to these places because they know they can find other kids to play with, and then they will have a little bit of a break for themselves.
Yeah.
But you should always kind of be on high alert for
paying attention.
Yeah, for when their kid's being just a jerk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because we spend so much time, well, we do, and I know your families, I know you guys do, teaching your kids to be nice people. And then they're just facing this world where other kids, a majority of kids, are not getting that message. And then it's kind of like, when am I allowed to stick up for myself?
Yes.
Right?
We are living in an area where it's so competitive in a different way that we feel like that message has been left behind. So I don't know about you, but personally for me, I feel like that's something at home.
Yes.
That's like the first lesson.
Right.
And this is something that, like, I don't care if you don't do well on a test or something.
Right.
But if you're not nice and I hear about it,
yeah,
that's not going to fly.
No, same with me. It would be embarrassing for me if my kid was making another kid feel bad on purpose.
Oh, 100%.
You know, and it's getting a little more interesting now that they're older and they're actually at school now. My kids are at school longer than they are with me during the day.
Yeah.
So a lot can happen. Another story, my oldest was in school and he was getting made fun of for the books he was reading.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? So he's getting made fun of for the books that he's reading, and it was interesting because it happened to be the same 1 or 2 kids that he plays with at recess. So these are people he's thinking are his friends. I don't know if it's out of instinct or self-defense, or like you said, the area is just very competitive, especially academically. But my son happens to be a little bit better at basketball than they are. And he has come home to me and said, oh, I won the basketball game at recess. I was the best. And my message to him is like, modesty is always the best policy, and you got to at least allow those kids to have the ball or whatever. But now I'm telling my son to constantly be nice to them at recess and allowing them to constantly be mean to him in the classroom.
I know.
It's a really like convoluted message. You want to protect them all the time.
You do.
Because you're mama bear, and you want to get in there and you want to mix it up, and it's hard to know the times where you got to let them figure it out on their own.
Yeah. I've become a little bit obsessed with this lately because one of the reasons why this topic came up was because I recently had a situation where it was like out of my control, and my daughter came home and said something to me that somebody had said. The way she started it was with a comment about appearance. So it was about appearance, and it was about my appearance, and she brought up how she felt like she didn't want me to wear something to school anymore. And I was like, oh man, well, I feel like maybe something was said. So I asked her, like, did somebody say something to you? And she said, yeah, somebody said something. And I don't know if she was protecting somebody who she had heard something from, but it made me realize that with girls in particular, you know, they're really focused on what they look like, and they're going to get teased for that in school. And you won't see it when you see the kids at, you know, play date or anything like that.
Right.
Then I found myself telling her what being beautiful actually means.
Right.
And I felt like it was such a young age to even be having this conversation with her.
I thought so too, really young.
This is why I segued in from your story, was because I told her that being beautiful is like how you are on the inside, what you think, what you say to yourself in your head, and how you treat others, and that being nice is always a better way to deal with it, because you don't know what somebody else is dealing with. But it brought me to that same dilemma of, am I letting my child be teased or something? Or is that going to start her being teased when she's older because I've taught her just always try to be the nicer person?
Yeah.
So it's like that mixed signal, and I don't know how I feel about it.
I know.
It's a very confusing topic.
It is.
To bring home.
Yeah, it is. I find it interesting that when our kids are the ones sometimes on the receiving end or they're feeling badly, that we turn it into a learning opportunity for them not to make somebody else feel that way.
Yes.
You know? And then you're like, oh man, maybe I should have just stuck up for them and left it at that.
Yeah. But isn't it crazy what kids will actually bother other kids about?
Yes. It's insane.
I mean,
it's almost everything and anything.
It's not only what you look like.
Nope.
What you read now, you're getting made fun of for that. And then at what point are we like, well, is this going to change and influence who they're going to become because somebody has now told them that the things that they're doing are odd?
Yes.
And it's sad. We're all a little bit weird.
That's true. And at what age do they actually understand that?
Yes.
I can't even tell you.
I don't think I even knew it until after having kids.
No.
And that was not even 5 years ago because it took me a bit of time to get comfortable with that.
Right. And then that's the message you want to tell them all the time. Like, who cares? Who cares about that? But they do. They do care about that. And that's why they need a mama bear once in a while to get in there and be like, listen, kid, I heard you're making fun of my kid.
Sucker punch. Seriously.
I think the common denominator for moms and for dads, for parents when their kids are going through something like that is just listen to your instincts.
Yeah.
I really do think if there's a problem that's persisting, you're going to feel like you need to talk to the teacher about it, or you need to go with your child and confront the other person's parents, or whatever it is. Or sometimes it might be telling your child to let that one go. You know what I mean? I feel like as the adults, you have a little bit more, better perspective on it.
Yeah.
But I think put yourselves in your kids' shoes because that was a huge deal to you.
I think part of this is you're with them for so long and you're molding them and then you send them to school.
Yeah.
And then the second you let go, it's like, well, what's happening?
Right.
Like somebody else is now in control and it's scary.
Yes. Well, maybe we should get our wine of the day in. I just got back from traveling to visit my family, which included 2 flights. Flight there, flight home. Okay. We had plenty of things for kids to do on that flight, and it is the shortest flight they've ever been on. And it's an hour flight.
Oh no.
Doesn't a battery die on a device?
Yeah.
Not naming names. It was the Nintendo Switch. The battery died, and you would think we had to parachute off this plane because there was
they lost their...
Yes, because they didn't want to read the books that we brought for them to read, or color the coloring things, or have the snack that the flight attendant brought us, a nice extra snack because the kids were like, my battery died and I can't live. That just almost sent me into a spiral. We were just so overly prepared, and you should have seen my bag. Like, my bag was full of stuff, and then as soon as that battery died, they didn't want anything else. I felt like, okay, they're going to keep this together. But then I started feeling resentful because I was like, why did I bring all this stuff?
I know.
Because
you're like carrying, you're like lugging it from the airport. Yes.
I put them in 2 seats beside each other on a plane, and I had a seat elsewhere.
So you could be like, figure it out, guys.
And they had to.
Well, we're glad you're back. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment below. We would love to hear A, a wine of the day, and B, how you guys handle bullying, teasing, and maybe some things that you guys tell your kids when you know they're going through a rough time. How do you handle it?
Yeah.
We'd definitely like to hear that. So comment below, subscribe to our channel, share this video.
Yep.
And as always, see you in the next video. Cheers.
Cheers.